periodic reviews. If you go into ADSEG, they have to tell you how long you're going to be there, and if they're going to extend it, they have to give you reasons. I'm not saying don't do that, but a lot of times these kind of half measures become the full measure, and that's the end of it. New York has a whole series of cases they settled, and I don't have all the details in my head, but because there are a lot of them. When we sell something in Arizona, it's about 4 pages. You sell something in New York, it's a telephone book. But it's kind of a hoax. They can lock juveniles up for 18 hours a day. That was one of the things they settled. Saying, oh my God, that's great. You can lock kids up 18 hours a day. So I know, I hope that's responsive to me. There's a lot to bringing these cases. I mean, the longer I'm out there, the more I realize how difficult it is. I just come to admire these litigators so much. I mean, I'm just used to writing articles and condemning people and calling for reform. And they're saying, you have to do something now. You have to win a case and then implement it. It's a different world. It's great. Yeah, a lot of that. Anyway. Solitary confinement.
You brought up Silverstein he's a rarity, right? He manages to kill 2 NCOs, another inmate. He's a rarity.
Absolutely.
But you've really got to keep him out of the general population.
Absolutely, I agree. And you have to have a solution for him. But what's wrong with the solutions are you can't use a Silverstein solution as your general solution. So what you do with the Silverstein is what they do with Manson, for example. I mean, I've seen Manson in prison. He has a suite. He has a double cell. He's had it from the beginning. There's a double cell. He has a lot of freedom. He moves around. And he's not going to hurt anybody, and nobody's going to hurt him because you have a duty to protect him. So the question is, well, why would they treat him like that? Why don't I treat him like the animal he really is? See, well, I don't know. There is a base point that you can't go below in terms of concepts of human dignity under that human rights approach. So you have to have a solution for Silverstein that you can feel safe about. It doesn't generalize to as a systemic solution, but it keeps him safe, and it keeps other people safe from him. He was asking for, he's in a tiny little cell. They went all the way up to the 10th Circuit Court of Appeal on Law. He wanted more paper to draw on. He's become an artist. And people, of course, now they're buying his paintings. And he gets 5 offers of marriage a week. I mean, that's what happens. It's unbelievable. He's thinking about it, though. He's not ready for commitment, he said. So Silverstein should be locked down with very limited movement. He should have some opportunity for some congregate activity where maybe he can mix with a couple of people over time. He's in his 70s now. So you can watch it, and you can be very careful. And you can have special yards. California's doing that now. They have special yards for gang members and people who are victims. You have to keep victims apart. You don't want to be celled next to a guy who killed your sister. You have to separate people. And the term that I use is the term isn't isolate, it's insulate. And that changes your thinking. Instead of isolating people, you have to insulate people one from the other in prison for all kinds of reasons, one of which is dangerousness, other is contagion. Some people want to be alone. But that's a different thing, because some of the people are saying, how bad can this be? People are in the submarines for months under the Arctic. They volunteered for that. You go up into space for a year, they made it. These guys, I mean, I hear all those arguments. It's different when you volunteer to go up into space for a year. It's the guys who can't handle it. And the tighter the security measure, the more expensive the measure. People don't, like the death penalty is the most expensive measure we have. When a guy is in segregation and you're going to move him from here to there, they have 3 COs, one on each elbow and one behind them. You know what the commitment of human resources that is? Some people need that, you know, and you can be careful, but not everybody needs that. So you're going to have a few people who can be in humane conditions of relative isolation. But for the vast majority of these people, they don't need it. Some people are hideouts. Some people actually want to go in there, believe it or not, and then they find their way out. We're moving into the high, how should we say, this is a very dangerous season in prison, NFL time. So every Friday, every Sunday night, guys are cutting up, suddenly losing it because they can't pay their bet. They can't make their bets, and they want to lock me up. My mom's here. I see her. I want to. They go crazy. It's a fake. So some of them are faking it because it provides protection. Now, but if you're around prisons long enough, you can sort that out, you know. And some people just say, I want time out for a while. When an inmate is nearing parole, and they're scared to death, you know, that a correctional officer is going to bait them into something, or another inmate, they ask to be locked down. You know, see, there are all kinds of little cultural things that are going in there, but we can sort through that. And we're talking about 80 to 100,000 people locked down, you know, where they may get out, maybe. They may get 3 showers a week, 2 showers a week. They may get out five hours a week if the officer feels like taking them out. And then I had one guy tell me, I asked him why, I looked at his record, why don't you go out? You have, as bad as it is, he said when they do those strip searches on you and body cavity probes and spread you, he said, I've been reading the books and it's uncool and unusual punishment. I said, well, it may be uncool, but it's not cruel. I mean, they have their own, but they have their own reasons, you know, their own resistance when you offer them these little breadcrumbs. And some of these guys are very dignified. They can hold on to their selves. But, you know, just like getting a good education in a high school, it's usually in spite of the teachers, not because of them. You know, I think. Yeah. But it's I think it's like if you're interested in prisons, you know, in general, and the correctional process, this is a good gateway. It's a very dramatic gateway into thinking through your own views about the uses of prison. I mean, I don't need to lecture you about, you know, the era of incarceration, which is, you know, kind of peaked now and winding down a bit. But I have little doubt that one of the reasons that segregated housing became more and more popular is because the prisons became so crowded. And these guys didn't know what to do. I mean, you have 4,000 people in a prison built for 2, you have problems. And so you start locking people away, and I'll work out the long-term solutions later. It's not always villains doing it, you know. You don't have to make good people can be doing terrible things. And you don't have to, you get a lot further if you don't call them villains. I've learned that, but only recently, you know. But you can show them it's in their best interest. I mean, I used to sell correctional mental health on the basis of mental health is good for you, the officers. It's going to make your life so much easier. And I think what we did manage in Ohio, the case is called Dunn versus Voinovich. I made some suggestions, and I said, instead of working with the units that are housing mentally ill as kind of a default position, let's make it a position of honor. And that you have to have special training, and you have a special insignia, get a little more money. And And they bought it. Reggie Wilkinson was the director at the time, and a very thoughtful guy. And he bought it, and now people compete. You have to have special training to work with the mentally ill. You're not looked on as by your fellow officers as something different. You're like a wimp because you're working with those people. You talk to them. Believe me, you have to fight that culture, you know. And you can do that. I mean, as long as the prisons are going to be default hospitals, and they are, you might as well come as close as you can to providing some training and as much treatment as you can, you know. And well, and but the use of locking people down as a reflex mechanism, as an administrative convenience, given the harm it causes, you know, at the dignity level and the empirical level, I think the days are numbered, and there's all kinds of money going into it and plans. Colorado's, can't give you all the details now, but Colorado's got the most interesting experiment going on about severely reducing the amount of, the number of people going into SEG, why, the reason, the grounds for it, and the duration of the confinement. And you have to provide programs. If you're going to lock somebody down, you still have to give them programs. You do it at the cell door or in a special area, all that kind of thing. And you just have to make the case for dangerousness and respond to the dangerousness. I don't know if you know about mechanical restraints. I've always argued that the model of mechanical restraints should be the model for the use of isolation. I mean, if a guy is acting out of control, and only as a last measure, a prisoner, you can put them into 5-point restraints. But you have to have medical opinion, you have to have a nurse checking vitals, and you can use the restraint only so long as the danger exists. And if it exists for more than X number of hours, you hospitalize the person. I mean, there are measures like that, and it's not all 4 points model, but it's not a bad model, because it's an extreme measure. It's an extreme deprivation. So be on the lookout for my white paper. I'm sure it'll be out there soon.